So, we learned that WWE 2K22 is coming out in March of 2022. And with the changes happening to NXT, I thought it would be a lot of fun if we took some time today, you and me, and discuss what we think NXT will look like in WWE 2K22 when it comes out. That episode for everybody is right now. Get comfortable. It's one of those days. God, nailing everything on my desk. Ridiculous. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Good to see you. Great to have you here on the show. I'm excited. It's whatever day of the week it is. We're talking about WWE 2K22. I sent out a post in the community tab, and all of you were fantastic. We had 286 votes, and the majority of you decided that we wanted to talk about NXT in WWE 2K22. What will it look like? What will we have? What won't we have? Let's have some fun. Okay, if WWE 2K22 was going to come out now-ish, coming out in like normal October timeframe that WWE wanted, we probably would have gotten an extremely out-of-date roster as a whole. The good thing about them delaying it until March is obviously they can clean up the roster primarily, put finishing touches on the product. Hopefully it looks a lot better. But with the recent announcement from Nick Khan doing an interview with BT Sports, he mentioned how WWE and NXT are going to see that entire brand shift and change within the next couple of weeks. We already know that NXT is doing a huge amount of tapings right now for their show, and that leads me to speculate that we will see these tapings happen, and then we will see the rebrand and kind of relaunch of NXT in its new format. Nick Khan's interview was interesting because it gave a lot of light, as corporate as it was. It shed some light on the company's stance with NXT and seeing it go down the path of being much more of a developmental system and less of a system where we have more established indie darlings that are going to be in the roster there and utilizing in that space. And because of that, we start seeing a lot more contracts coming up, NXT stars coming and going. You have big stars like Adam Cole, where apparently we're going to find out probably around this Friday when his contract is actually expired and he is totally a free agent. That's the word going out from PW Insider, Wrestle Talk, all of those guys, Fightful Select. So here's the question. Do we think NXT is going to be regular NXT in 2K22? Do you think it's going to look like the NXT of now? Whereas in the CWC, you got all the takeover arenas, we have Full Sail University. Do you think it's going to look like that come March? I'm gonna go and play the other side of this for this conversation with you all. I don't think it is, because WWE and NXT and Nick Khan are going to make drastic changes to NXT and make it much more of a developmental system. And because they are pushing the team over at 2K to put in a current roster, an active roster, an up-to-date roster across the board, I think that we are going to see a lot of changes when it comes to the NXT brand. I think they're going to try to get the new NXT arenas out, which shouldn't be too difficult. If they are going to go for a more of a developmental look, it shouldn't be too hard to update those assets within 2K, especially when you have about 7 months to go. So I actually think that once we get this game in March, we will be looking at developmental NXT ring arena, probably put in the other arenas like Full Sail. I think they will do. I don't really know if they're gonna do CWC in the arena there in that layout with the chain link fence and everything. I'm not sure if they are gonna actually do that. I do think that because the WWE is going for a total rebrand of NXT in itself with logos, the aesthetics of it, the way it's shot, the superstars, the rosters, I think that they're gonna want that aesthetic, that put into the game, especially right now when there's a lot of reports that they're conflicting, they're butting heads between 2K games and WWE themselves, wanting the game out in October, but now it's being delayed until March, and 2K talking about how, this was going to be an extremely out-of-date roster had we launched it currently, around the October window, Thanksgiving window. I think with that little bit of extra time, they're going to look at updating those assets, getting the new branded NXT in there, possibly even the Raw and SmackDown on that note with the updated arenas that we're seeing for 2021. But I really wonder, everybody, if NXT within the game is going to look a lot different, and if we have a much smaller roster, because what's happening over the next several months is we're seeing new stars in developmental, they're doing more tryouts, existing talent within NXT are on the verge of leaving. And again, I go back with Adam Cole as a prime example. He may or may not make it into the game. Yes, his models, renders, everything would be done, but if he's up and leaving in a week and going to go over to AEW and 2K Games have an additional 6-7 months to produce the game, there's a very good chance that they're going to remove Adam Cole from the game. Now, does that leave the door open that we could see Adam Cole if he did go to AEW? We see him in the AEW game? Ooh, very possible, and that would be delicious. Same with CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and Bray Wyatt, Malachi Black. There's a lot. There's a lot of talent. And the other question I think that's popping in my head is, what if NXT had a fairly large presence in the current iteration of the 2K game, with that of a showcase, GM mode? What if all of that was kind of built, if it was kind of built a little bit, not around NXT itself solely, but really propped up in the game as a third brand, especially if they were doing a GM mode where you have Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I do have a concern there that if NXT is going the way of being very much a developmental system like they used to have with OVW, it's gonna be too late to completely wash the entire game basically and rip that out if it was going to be a Raw, SmackDown, NXT GM mode that they set up, or season, or whatever, or universe mode. That's a tricky one too, because it can actually make the game feel much more out of date. If we turn that thing on in March and we see our universe mode, season mode, GM mode, where you've got 3 brands in there with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the roster is just completely ripped apart, where it's totally thin now with lack of superstars, and fans are looking at it going, well, wait, NXT is now, for the last almost year, it's a developmental system, so it's not even a third brand, so why this game is out of date? That's one of my big concerns I have for this on the NXT side, is it's either going to just stick with the existing model, the existing assets and everything, and just move forward with it, and maybe have the new renderings of the new arena and put those in the game if possible, or it's too late, or they will go with the full rebrand and kind of pull things back on the NXT front. But I think for a lot of us in the community, we've been looking at the roster, and when we talk about the roster across the board for this game, thinking that, well, there's been a ton of releases, this is going to be one of the smallest rosters we've seen. So many of you in the community have said, hey, wait, but we could, beef it all up with NXT stars, NXT UK stars. I wonder if they are going to do that. I wonder if they are going to beef this thing up with NXT stars, or maybe they are not. Because the direction that WWE is going themselves right now, under the top leadership of Nick Khan, they want the WWE brand and their marketing and everything that they push out to really be around their large superstars. And that doesn't mean that we're going to take away Ciampa, Gargano, or any of those established names. I think that WWE in that game, they want to make sure that their large legends, their larger than life superstars are in the game, and their legends are more prominently featured in the game and using those spots versus an NXT star or an NXT UK star. Diehard fans would love it. We want the most out of NXT UK and traditional NXT in our game. But when we pull things back a little bit and we look at the larger landscape and the larger audience, casual players, new players to the game, younger audiences, younger kids, younger players grabbing a WWE game, they may not be wanting to grab an NXT star like Walter, for example, where we would all love to be able to play as Walter and destroy everything. His NXT match at TakeOver, good lord, the chops, it was insane. I loved it. But the more casual fans, and frankly, probably a large, broad stroke of their fan base that play those games casually, isn't going to want to play as a star like that. They're looking to play as, all right, let me pick this up, and where's Becky Lynch, where's Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Edge, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. They're going to want to pick up those stars in the game. And again, this is just Matt here speculating, have some fun with you. I want to see the most fleshed out roster possible. I want to see the best video game roster, wrestling video game ever. That's what I want. But when it comes to NXT, I do wonder if they are going to be still taking the next several months to rejig that roster, because it's not going to look like it would have if it was going to be launched in October. I think if we were getting that traditional October-November launch date, I think we would have seen a pretty bare bones main roster and we would have seen a very heavy NXT roster. But with so many more changes coming to NXT in a matter of weeks, I think 2K is going to be grinding it out, in my opinion, and trying to get stars rejigged and either added into the game, and then the renders may not look as good and clean if they're being added last minute, or they're going to have a lot of stars that they're going to remove as WWE continues to clean house, because I don't think that this is going to be the end of seeing batches of releases. And I'm really curious to see what happens to main NXT stars that we have already, and frankly, just kind of those established names that we have had in NXT over the years. Where will they be in the matter of 6 to 8 months? There's going to be that cutoff point where we can't add or remove anybody else in the game, and 2K needs to try to do the best they can with the time they have to put out the best product. But I think it's going to be interesting to see the stars, the arenas, logos, and is this thing going to shape up the way we want it to on the NXT side? Let me know in the comments below. Is NXT going to look a lot different in 2K22 once we finally get to that launch window, that launch date? Or is it all going to just kind of stay the same and they're going to worry about the main roster stars? Let me know in the comments below. You voted for, you wanted the episode to talk about this, so talk to me in the comments. I'll be right there hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for watching the show. By the way, thank you again for helping us achieve our goal of getting to 4,000 subscribers as we move beyond and we get into the 5,000 subscriber mark. You guys are all fantastic. We'll have more episodes every single week, and we are actually going to be getting into a lot more of our live streams, live streaming WWE 2K19. This is a fun fact. I downloaded it on my PC, like I told a lot of you guys on our last stream, and I figured out modding a little. The guides are amazing out there. The community creators, people that create those videos and how to mod and do all that stuff. Geez, it's over my head. But I figured out some stuff, like the renders. I know how to change the renders. I got a CM Punk, the new CM Punk, in my modded 2K19. I'm very excited. It's all messed up. Like, I can get him in the ring and doing his thing, but like, it's half broken for me because I don't know what I'm doing. But I got the music in there, and then I like that I changed the music, I changed some renders. It's all very exciting. So I can't wait to play more of that. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya!